Throughout the course of the Dragon Ball franchise, the concept of death has gone from something that was once serious to a minor inconvenience. After all, the titular items of the series, known as the Dragon Balls, are something that have been shown to be capable of bringing back not only one person, but many people a number of times. And as a result, whenever the heroes and sometimes even the villains have died, they've typically been brought back at the end of the arc to give us some kind of happy ending and way of tying things up. However, did you know that there actually are a number of characters who are never wished back? Well, let's talk about them in this video. But first, make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable all notifications to make sure you can stay up to date with all of my future content. And if you're a current subscriber, make sure to check that you're still subscribed, because YouTube does tend to unsubscribe people. It happens more often than you think. So let's begin with the original Dragon Ball, and of course, we'll get the most obvious answer out of the way, beginning with Grandpa Gohan. Now, of course, as we know, Grandpa Gohan was a human who was trained by Master Roshi and possessed incredible martial arts abilities. One day, he found the baby Kakarot, a survivor of the destroyed planet Vegeta, and raised him as his own son, naming him Goku. However, this would also be his downfall, as eventually Goku looked at the full moon and turned into an Ozaru, a great ape the size of King Kong, who stomped down on Grandpa Gohan and killed him. Even though Goku was in possession of a Dragon Ball which Grandpa Gohan had found, he had no idea that if he collected these balls, he'd be able to bring his grandfather back. Additionally, despite the fact that he had opportunities to do so, he never did going forward in the series. In the Dragon Ball anime, we're given more of an explanation as to why this is, with that being that Grandpa Gohan became an assistant to Anin, a divine being in the afterlife, and considering that he seemed to have the hots for her, he didn't really want to be wished back anytime soon. But either way, a long time passed, and there's very little chance that Grandpa Gohan will ever be among the living again. The same could be said for Planet Vegeta along with the Saiyans who were destroyed along with it. After all, Vegeta and Goku have had numerous opportunities to bring back their families and the planet. But I think the truth of the matter is that both of them accept that that would actually not be a good thing because of the fact that the Saiyans themselves were bloodthirsty pirates who went around to wiping out civilizations so that they could sell their planets. And if they were to be brought back as a people, they likely would continue to do that and try and take over the universe. Not to mention that both Goku and Vegeta moved on a long time ago from their families, with Goku never even knowing his, and Vegeta not really caring for the most part. So aside from fanfiction, it's pretty unlikely that this will ever happen in this story. And then of course, hundreds of years before the Dragon Ball story began, there was the King Piccolo Wars, in which the evil side of Kami, the demon King Piccolo, ravaged the earth along with his children, wiping out most of humanity, only to eventually be defeated and sealed away by Master Mutaito, the master of both Roshi and the Crane Hermit. In exchange for sealing away King Piccolo, Master Mutaito sacrificed his life, and was never brought back afterward. Nor were the countless millions or perhaps even billions of people who were wiped out by Piccolo during his reign of terror. And even though the Dragon Balls likely did exist at the time on Earth, there's no indication that any of them ever came back, and considering just how long it's been since then, and most people have completely forgotten about this happening, these ones will remain nothing more than a forgotten memory, probably reserved for legends and mythologies that people discard as something of the past that was never actually real. Moving into Dragon Ball Z, we get to the event of when Nappa and Vegeta first touched down on planet Earth, smashing into his city, and then as a greeting, completely wiping it out, vaporizing everything in sight along with the population of that town. Now, even though eventually the Earthlings did get the Dragon Balls and bring back those who were killed by Frieza, the fact of the matter is that when Vegeta did this with Nappa, neither of them was actually working for Frieza, as they were actively rebelling against him and trying to gain immortality to overthrow him. Which means that these people, and all of the Namekians that Vegeta killed on planet Namek when he was trying to attain the Dragon Balls for himself, ultimately never got wished back. And unless it happened off screen, the damage done by them was never undone. But it seems like ultimately Toriyama just forgot about that. And let's also not forget the filler episode in which Nappa and Vegeta went to Arlia, and then when they were leaving decided to blow it up. Those people never came back either. The next thing seems more along the lines of something that Toei forgot about, more specifically the planet that was destroyed during the fight between Goku and Frieza. For those of you who are unaware of this, during the original Dragon Ball Z anime, there's a scene in which Frieza charges up a gigantic blast and throws it at Goku, something that he deflects off into space. However, that blast just so happens to hit a planet, which completely destroys it. Were there any civilized beings on that world? If so, considering the fact that Goku was the one who deflected the blast at them, there's a chance they never came back either. Now moving on to the android arc, there's Android 16. The good-hearted android who was created in order to destroy Goku, but decided not to, instead sacrificed his life in an attempt to kill Cell, and then awaken Gohan's hidden power. This is one of the few permanent sacrifices in the entire franchise, and Android 16 was never brought back. Now as for why 16 wasn't brought back, Harold and I discussed that topic in this video, although if you watch it, make sure to do so with a sense of humor in mind. And then finally in the Buu saga, we were told about the different Supreme Kais that Kid Buu fought millions of years ago, with the North Kai, West Kai, and South Kai all being killed. Now ever since then, there was only one Supreme Kai who was ruling over Universe 7. And even when the Elder Kai came back and Shin learned about the Dragon Balls, no action was ever taken to try and wish these other ones back so that they could reside over the universe. But it had been millions of years at this point since they were killed by Buu, and realistically they should have already been replaced by other Supreme Kais during that time period, which I discussed more in this video here. Now moving into Dragon Ball Super, we have the first casualties of the series. More specifically, what happens during the fight between Beerus and Goku, when the clashes of their punches are destroying the very universe itself. And because of the shockwaves that are moving all throughout the universe causing damage, there's one planet that we see that's totally de-atomized in the process. And that's only the planet that we're shown, because for all we know there's a number of other ones that also met the same fate. And no actions were ever taken at this point to try and wish these other people back. So if there was anyone who was actually alive on that planet, then I guess that they're just hanging out in the afterlife right now with no hope of ever coming back. And talking about a lot of people who never came back to life, we gotta get into the future Trunks in the original timelines, because most of the people there are gone permanently, such as future Goku, who died of natural causes, and all the Z fighters who were killed by the androids. Now there might have been an opportunity for them to bring everyone back using the new Namekian Dragon Balls, which is kind of a plot hole in the arc considering that they never actually attempted this, and seemingly forgot about it altogether. But any hope of that was completely erased along with the timeline when Zeno destroyed it in the Goku Black arc of Dragon Ball Super. Whereas in the original timeline, Trunks was killed by Cell, leaving the world completely undefended, which I talked about more in depth in this video here. Not only did Zeno erase the physical universe, but he also erased the afterlife along with it, meaning that all the Z fighters who were watching in the afterlife were completely erased with absolutely nothing left of their souls either. Really goes to show you just how depressing and completely unfitting that ending is. And on the topic of erasure, even though everyone was brought back that was erased in the different universes by Zeno during the Tournament of Power, there might have been a number of people who actually died as a result of complications from that erasure. Think about Thanos' snap in the MCU, for example, and just think about all the different situations that people could be involved in at the time that this happened. Like what if, for example, a doctor was operating on a patient in one universe and was erased when he needed to make a split-second decision? Certainly that patient would die when they're brought back, even if they come back in the exact same position, because there would at least be a few moments of people wondering what the heck was going on. The same thing would happen for a pilot flying in a spaceship at super high speeds. Maybe he needed to make a really quick adjustment at the last second and he wasn't able to, which resulted in him smashing into an asteroid or even a planet. Think about just how many examples of this occurred in all of these universes when they were erased, especially considering that most of them didn't even know what was happening. But obviously the MCU ignored this, and so will Dragon Ball Super. And then finally for this section so far, there's Paragus, the father of Broly, who was killed by Frieza to awaken Broly's Super Saiyan form. Now as I talked about in this video, there is a chance that Broly might try and use the Dragon Balls to bring his father back in the future. But whether or not he'll actually bring back his father is something that waits to be seen. And finally, we have Piccolo in Dragon Ball GT, who sacrificed his life and died with the explosion of the Earth in order to make it so the Black Star Dragon Balls no longer existed. Because ultimately, he felt it was his own fault that all of this had happened in the first place. And so as a result, he allowed himself to die. And even more tragic is the fact that he got himself sent to Hell in order to help Goku escape, but ultimately remained there. Hell helping to keep things in line, but still being trapped there potentially for all of eternity. Now, there may have been a way for them to bring him back without bringing back the Black Star Balls, or maybe even a way that they could just destroy the Black Star Balls so they couldn't come back, but ultimately, that's just not what happened. So that was Dragon Ball characters who were never wished back. Can you think of anyone else? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe and enable all notifications, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.